Have you ever created something that you were so proud of and you thought for sure everyone was going to love it? This was your chance to go viral, and it didn't. It did okay, but you feel like it had more. Well, that's this episode. I don't care if you're a history buff or you hate history. America is turning 250 years old, and we're here to celebrate. I recorded a podcast episode a couple years ago after being inspired from my trip to Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, one of the birthplaces of our republic. I was inspired when I read the autobiography of Alexander Hamilton, and I fell in love with the Broadway play. And yes, I may be a bit of a history nerd, but I'm a business professional, coach, and sales trainer first. And what I was able to do in this episode is I was able to, for the history nerds, nerd out. For those that hate history, introduce you to American history in a way that you'll always remember it. It'll entertain you, and I'm going to tie it down to business lessons learned. You see, a lot has transpired over the past 250 years. However, when you break it down, a lot of it is the same. There are lessons that we can learn from the American Revolution. There are lessons we can learn from our forefathers that still today help us become more successful in sales, help us become more successful in business, and help us continue to grow as people as well as professionals. I promise you, you're going to love this. You just got to tune in, take notes, and check this out. They don't teach this shit in school, but they should. Welcome to the Loan Officer Podcast, hosted by me, Dustin Owen, one of the most influential people in the mortgage industry, along with my friends who've lived it, built it, failed at it, fixed it, and scaled it. This is not a show just for mortgage professionals. This is everything I learned because I became a mortgage loan originator. This is the Loan Officer Podcast. I want to talk about everything we as business professionals can learn from our forefathers.
Oh shit! Let me tune out now, but go ahead.
No, think about this. Like I'm going to start with what are now my three favorite words in the U.S. Constitution.
Get out.
Do you even know the first three words of the
In
U.S.
the
Constitution?
beginning. Hold on. That's 7 years ago.
Nope, that's the Gettysburg Address. Yeah,
All right,
that happened about 90 years.
All right, what are you asking me? What are you asking?
The Constitution. We
the people.
We the people. Yes.
Oh.
Okay, those are not my three favorite words.
Okay.
More perfect union.
Oh.
In order to form a more perfect union.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so our forefathers were discussing their new country, and they are acknowledging that it wasn't perfect, but it was damn near close. So they wanted to make this document so that they could form a more perfect union. In business, like in life, it is a journey. These are things that we can learn, not necessarily how to create a country and a government, right? In three branches and balance of power. No. Just in general, what were they saying in order to create a more perfect union? Better yet, here's something that's really cool to think about. The Constitution was written in 1787. It wasn't even ratified to the next year, 1788, and it didn't go into law until 1789. Now, to you and many people listening, they're like, okay, that's a long time ago, right? 250 years ago or whatever the math is. But let me just roll back. The Declaration of Independence, which we're getting ready to celebrate next month, right? That happened in 1776. 1776 is when we claim our country's birth. Okay. Our Constitution was written 11 years after we declared independence. It wasn't ratified, meaning it wasn't approved, until 88, and it didn't go into law for 89. What that tells me is nothing great happens overnight. In life and in business, young mortgage professionals tuning in, young entrepreneurs, young business owners. If you're 3 years in, 5 years in, 7 years in, and you're scratching your head, our forefathers, they too were scratching their head. They too were just getting started. when you start putting all these dates in line in a chronological order, I'm like, damn, there's something to be learned about that. So then I want to dig a little bit deeper.
TLOP Unite is not your typical mortgage event. This is the first ever TLOP cruise experience built exclusively for originators. And for 4 days, it's not about the speakers, it's about you. We're talking breakout strategy sessions, real conversations, curated events, and uninterrupted access to a community that helps you grow. If you're serious about taking your career to the next level, this is where you need to be. Space is limited and the price is right. So click the link now and learn more.
I'm like, all right. Even if you're not a history buff, John, and you're from Massachusetts, one of the original 13 colonies.
Yeah, that.
Have you heard of this thing called the Boston Tea Party?
Yeah, that's when they dumped the shit in the river.
Yep, they dumped tea
Yeah.
in the bay.
Yeah, I remember
And
that.
do you know what the colonists were like? Why'd they do that? Were they just a bunch of thugs?
No, I think it was like prohibition for tea or something.
Yeah, they were actually pushing back against the King of England, who wanted to tax their tea.
Yeah, that's what I meant to say.
Yeah, it's the whole no taxation without representation.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they didn't mind that they were being taxed. They minded that they were being taxed, but didn't have a seat in Parliament. They didn't have anyone representing the colonies over in England in Parliament.
So they didn't have a say.
So they didn't have a say. Yeah, they didn't have representation. But that happened in 1773.
Okay.
Declaration of Independence wasn't until 1776.
That was after. Okay, I'm following you.
Okay, so for 3 years, people were unhappy. For 3 years, they were trying to figure out what to do. They didn't have the answer right away. Right? They didn't know what to do, but they were going to try. They weren't going to sit back idly. So my question to sales professionals and business owners and people in life, what's going on right now that's your Boston Tea Party? What's your first opportunity to take a stand to get something you believe in or fight for something you want really bad? And then more importantly, are you willing to go 3 years before you find clarity in some direction? Because that's what our forefathers had to do. It started in Massachusetts. Now, when it started in Massachusetts, do you think the people in Georgia gave two shits?
Hell no.
No. They didn't know anyone in Massachusetts.
What the hell's tea?
What the hell is tea? Yeah. You know, like they're chewing tobacco and picking cotton. But by 1774, we had the first Continental Convention. By the way, all of this transpires except for the Boston Tea Party that happened in Boston. The first Continental Convention, the second Continental Convention, the Declaration of Independence, the Constitutional Convention, and the Constitution.
What?
They all happened in Philadelphia.
Why?
They all happened in Philadelphia. I'll answer that question for you. And Philadelphia was the first official, real capital of the United States of
Then
America.
why ain't the capital now?
It started in New York. It quickly went to Philly before it became D.C.
They need to put it in Ocala.
What? You put it in Ocala?
Why
Have you
not?
been to Ocala?
Never in my life.
I mean, if you love horses as much as I do, you want to go to Ocala. Yeah, but other than horses, I mean, and a cheaper and slower, a cheaper cost of living and a slower way of living.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's Ocala. But Ocala, Florida, by the way, for those that are tuning in from all over the country, for us in like Orlando or Jacksonville or Tampa, like we still view Ocala as what some people would say like farm town, cow town.
Oh, okay. Now you're educating
but
me.
it's phenomenal for horse breeding.
There you
Yep.
go.
But anyhow, no. So it was Philadelphia. You asked me the question, why
Why?
Philly?
Yeah.
That was the Mecca.
Ben Franklin.
Ben Franklin, yes.
Rocky.
Rocky, yes. Okay, there
was
you go. You know something. Pats and Geno's.
That's over my head.
Garbage. Those are garbage cheesesteaks. They're iconic. They're tourist traps. Rocky put them on the map. But there's way better steak sandwiches in Philadelphia than Pats and Geno's. Just sidebar. No, so Philadelphia was like the epicenter. It was the largest city. It was the most diverse city. It was one of the most prosperous cities. In fact, there was a time that Philadelphia was the second largest English-speaking city in the world, right below London. right? So
how do
Philadelphia
you know-
was where it's at.
Where did you read this? On the spine of a book when you went to some museum up there? Or is this all
I
in your
dare
head?
you guys to go to a museum with me. You'll be through the museum on your second cup of coffee, starving, ready to go to lunch, and
you're
I'm still only halfway through the exhibits.
Do you read all the metal plaques
Oh,
and
and
shit?
yes, and I have terrible reading comprehension
Are you
skills.
serious? So you read it like 4 times?
I have to read it 4 times, 100%. Yep.
Good for you,
True
Dustin.
story. But back on the episode, back on things we can learn from our forefathers. This is like good stuff. These are
Yeah.
like an epiphany that I had. So we're pissed off in 1773 as a certain colony. No taxation without representation. We're being taxed. We don't like it. We revolt. We kind of throw a temper tantrum. King doesn't like it. He sends a bunch of troops. Troops start living inside of people's homes.
What?
It gets really ugly. So we're like, okay, guys and girls, we showed the king that we were pissed. It didn't really work. Now he's pushing back and he has more forces than we have. Let's get together and talk about how we can rectify the situation with the king. Cool. That's the first Continental Conference or convention. It's called a convention. That happened in Philadelphia. But you know what's really cool about it, John? There's 13 colonies. We all know that, right? 13 colonies. Only 12 showed up. You know who didn't show up? And I already gave you a clue.
The people who didn't have representation because it was throwing AT in the river.
No, they were part of
Oh.
all 13 colonies didn't have representation.
Sorry.
So there's one colony of the 13. I've already mentioned this colony.
Okay.
They maybe chewed tobacco and picked cotton.
Georgia.
Georgia doesn't even show up. Georgia's like, can't be bothered.
Okay.
Hey, you fools get together. You meet for weeks at a time, if not months at a time.
Just give me the homework after.
And guess what? None of these dudes liked each other. None of these dudes knew each other. Many of them didn't like each other.
Okay.
But they came together for a common cause and they negotiated and compromised. Think about that. Georgia didn't know New Hampshire. Virginia didn't get along with Massachusetts. But not even all 13 came together. It's like doing a family reunion. You're one of 13, but your little sister decided not to come.
Shout out.
Shout out to your little sister. You're like jealous. Yeah, and then they get together, and it's not like a family reunion. It's not all kumbaya. They don't know each other. Some of them don't like each other. They have different religions. They have different upbringings. They have different ways of earning a living. And they sit there for weeks, if not months at a time. They negotiate and they compromise for the common goal. So how many times in our lives should we be negotiating and compromising, sometimes with strangers, sometimes with people who aren't like us, in order to achieve that common goal? That may be for me as simple as putting a loan through the system. I don't need to like my processor. I don't need to want to hang out with my underwriter, but we need to come together for a common goal and figure out ways to work with each other. How do we compromise? Right? My boss may be telling me to do X and I want to do Y. Better yet, I'm a manager and I want my associates to do X. They really want to do Y.
Q, X, Y, Z, D.
How can we sit down together and say, well, what is our common goal? Right? Your common goal is to stay employed, make a certain living, have a certain quality of life. My goal as a manager is to make sure that we have good brand recognition, a great reputation in the marketplace, and that we have more net revenue at the end of every quarter than we did this time last year, right? That we're turning a profit. If that's what we know, how do we work together on that? And that started as early as 1774. But guess what, John? They compromised. They made a decision. And the decision didn't work out the way they thought it would.
The Louisiana Compromise. I remember that.
It's called the Louisiana Purchase.
Damn
and
it.
that was...
Damn.
Yeah, that was going to be about 30 or 40 years after this first Continental Convention.
Don't copy off of my test.
Yeah, John is not the guy that you're going to be cheating off of. No. So it didn't, right? Because all they were trying to do is make nice with the king. That's what they were trying to do. It didn't work. So they came back together a year later. This time, Georgia showed up. Think about that. I made a decision and it didn't work out. Did everyone quit? Did everyone go their separate ways? No. Hey, we circled back. Now we know each other a little bit better. Now we're understanding where people are coming from and their perspectives. We got our little brother, Georgia, to show up, or our little sister, Georgia, to show up. Now let's reconvene. Let's figure it out. So now the year is 1775. You know what the solution was this time, John? We're declaring our independence. We're going to do this. 13 of us, 13 strangers came together with one common goal, one commonality, one common enemy. And that's that king over in England who wants to tax us without giving us representation. And it's been acting tyrannical. When we've been trying to do things peacefully, he has been coming back using force, and now we really don't like it. Well, at first, we were a little bit annoyed. Now it's like, nah, you done pissed us off. Mm-hmm. So 1775, it was 1776 that the Declaration of Independence was signed. Drafted and signed in that same city of Philadelphia. Right? Same place that the first and second Continental conferences or conventions were. 3 years after the Boston Tea Party. Like what? How many life lessons are just sitting in this history? We go to school, we learn the history because we need to learn, well, who is John Hancock and who is John Adams and where did George Washington come into play and how about this guy Benedict Arnold who's a traitor? Like we learned all of this. Mm-hmm. But the lesson was in the story behind the story. The lesson was one in which how a group of people can come together from very different backgrounds. They don't have to be friends. They don't have to necessarily get along. But if they can show up, they can give it their full effort, be willing to compromise, and stick it out, great things will happen. So to keep you on the timeline, we go ahead and we draft the Declaration of Independence, which, by the way, at the time, have you heard of John Hancock?
Yeah, the guy who signed the thing.
That guy who signed the thing. He's
like
also
real big.
Yeah.
Because people couldn't see it.
Yeah. Put your John Hancock right here. Mm-hmm. He was actually the person presiding over the Second Continental Convention.
Okay.
Pretty cool. He could have been president.
Oh.
Like he could have been president, but he wasn't. First president of the United States is
wooden teeth George Washington.
George Washington. You're correct. But what's gonna shock you is understanding in this timeline where Washington became president. So nonetheless, 1776, Declaration of Independence, it's signed. 13 strangers. It's more than 13 people, by the way. I'm thinking of the colonies as if they're individuals, right? Mm-hmm. You know, trying to make that. Yeah, they come together. A bunch of dudes sign it. But do you know when they signed it, the story as it was told to me was silence in the room. It wasn't jubilation. They weren't cheering. They weren't kicking back a bunch of pints of beer. Well, Ben Franklin was, because he was a bit of a alkie. Super smart dude. I mean, we owe so much. It's so funny. Ben Franklin, Alexander Hamilton, neither one of them were presidents. They were two phenomenal people in the history of the United States of America. But nonetheless, they signed it. The reason why I was solemn in the room, everyone assumed that they were signing their own death wish.
Off
their own
that
death warrant.
Off that cush.
They literally like, hey, we know we have to do it, and we're not doing this for us. We're doing this for the future. That teaches a lot about sacrifice. What were people willing to give up for something they believed in? Now, this could be someone sitting at home right now, and they're worried about giving up their Netflix. They're worried about going down to a one-car household. They're worried about giving up their gym membership. They're worried about not going to the nail salon. They're worried about, but because for them, the sacrifice they're going to have to make in order to get out of debt is those things I just mentioned. And they're not willing to do it, but our forefathers were willing to give up their life for the pursuit of happiness. They're willing to give up their life for liberty, for freedom, to have a voice, to have autonomy. Like, think about that.
Loan officers, if 2026 is going to be your breakout year, this matters. Most originators don't struggle because of rates. They struggle because they don't have systems, structure, or accountability. I'm Coach Christy with TLOP's Originator Coaching. Originator Launch is a 16-week small group coaching program designed to help you build a real business, not just close the next loan. You'll get weekly live coaching, proven scripts used by top producers, real accountability, homework that actually moves the needle, and 2 private one-on-one calls with your coach. This program is capped at just 10 originators, so the attention is personal and the results are real. This isn't a course you watch. It's coaching you execute. If you're ready to stop guessing and start building with intention, apply now. Spots are limited, and once they're gone, enrollment closes. Register today.
Right? Sacrifice. We learn about sacrifice. Sacrifice applies in all parts of our life. You want to get healthy, you have to sacrifice. Put that donut down. Don't order that soda. You don't need the fried mozzarella before your meal comes out. You don't need to purchase alcohol.
Damn it.
Especially at a restaurant where they charge you.
So much money.
Yeah, 2 drinks, I could get a whole bottle for that.
I know, but it's the atmosphere and the ambiance you pay for.
Okay, yeah, but also it breaks your belly and it breaks your bank account.
Nah, do 5 miles on the treadmill, you'd be all right.
So anyhow, that's the thing about sacrifice. So nonetheless, 1776. You know what they've learned though? Crap, we're our own country. It's 1776. We voted on the Declaration of Independence July 2nd.
Okay.
John Adams wrote his wife, Abigail, and said July 2nd is the day that every American's going to remember. Or July 4th.
Well,
because we don't celebrate July 2nd.
Yeah, that's when it went live.
July 4th is when it went live. July 4th is when it's actually everyone signed
That was a soft launch, July 2nd.
It was a soft launch.
We'll see
No
how
one
it goes.
remembers the soft launch.
Yeah.
We should start celebrating that.
Yeah, you
know,
should.
because here at T-Lop, John and I made a conscious decision like 3 years ago that we are going to stay purple. We're going to stay agnostic. We don't go all out, even for things that we believe in, right? Like MLK Day is one of my favorite days. July 4th, one of my favorite days, like things that I could really rally behind. Veterans Day, Memorial Day, like these are fun days. Halloween, I love to dress up.
Did you see the UFOs that crashed in like Vegas?
Not yet.
Are you serious? And
No,
they
but-
found the aliens like in real life. People recorded it. I'm serious.
I can't wait to see that. Are you going to celebrate that day?
Yeah, because
Okay,
Disclosure Day. I'm going to
Disclosure
Disclosure
Day.
That's what I'm going to
And
celebrate.
then John's going to celebrate Disclosure Day.
Yeah.
Yep, but John and I now, because we don't celebrate MLK Day and we don't celebrate Veterans Day, Memorial Day, we do private life. We don't do it through the show. Maybe today, we're going to come up with our 2 holidays.
Okay.
Soft Open Day.
Soft launch.
Soft launch
Soft
Day,
launch.
July
Yeah,
2nd,
yeah, soft
and
launch.
Discovery Day.
Yeah,
Those are gonna be-
Disclosure Day.
Disclosure
Sorry,
Day.
yes, yes.
Those are going to be 2 T-Lop holidays.
Okay.
But back on the history lesson that correlates to life. So we declare independence, but you know what we don't have?
Money.
Any laws,
Yeah.
any rules.
Mom left us the house. Okay, you got the house. Now what do we do?
Yeah, like what are we? No one knew. But how about this? How many times in life and in business do you literally have to learn as you grow?
Every day.
You got to learn as you grow. Like the best day to start is today. The enemy of done.
The enemy of perfect is done.
No, the enemy of perfection is done.
Oh,
Yeah. Yep.
teach
No,
you.
no, the enemy of done is perfection, John.
that's what I said.
No.
Is it? Rewind the
know.
tape.
Rewind-
Yeah. Throw the red flag.
Yeah. The enemy of done is perfection.
Yeah, that's what.
Yeah. We learned that from our forefathers going back to 1776. 1776 is the Declaration of Independence, written, signed, good to go. F you, England. We are our own country. We are 13 united colonies. Now we're 13 United States. But what does that really mean? We have no idea. It wasn't until 1777, the next year, that we had the Articles of Confederation. Okay, what does that mean? It's just a loose set of laws that we're all going to follow. It means that Massachusetts, you do your thing. Rhode Island, you do your thing. Maryland, you do your thing. Virginia, you do your thing. South Carolina, you do your thing. But in the time of need, we're going to band together and do what we need to do. Essentially, right? Me paraphrasing. Well, we went to war that same year.
Okay.
That war lasted all the way until 1783. 1783 is when we finally won the war with France's help. We would have never won the war without France intervening. And it wasn't just France, by the way. Spain played a role. Holland played a role.
Battle of Gettysburg was epic.
Battle of Gettysburg is a civil war, but it's okay, John.
Shit. I'm trying, bro.
Okay.
I'm throwing everything out.
I'm gonna get through this, and I hope people are following along. I hope they're enjoying the history lesson.
It's cool,
At the
yeah.
same time, I hope that they're starting to really put perspective into, wow, how does this apply to my business? How does this apply to my personal life? What are the real lessons we should have learned from our forefathers? But so the war takes whatever that time period is between 1776 and 1783, roughly 9 years. And we finally win. Yay, we are our own country. And now everyone's like, okay, what do we do? I don't know. Let's just kind of stick to these Articles of Confederation. They'll be our laws. Y'all go and do your own thing, right? Virginia, run Virginia. North Carolina, run North Carolina, etc. And that was all well and good until it was no longer well and good. So when it was no longer well and good, we got back together. Now, by the way, the war ended in 1783. We didn't get back together until like 1787. That was the Constitutional Convention.
Okay.
Right? So we had 2 Continentals. Now we have and it was after this, at the Second Continental that the Declaration of Independence was signed. It was after that, right? Because that's kind of the timeline. 1774 was the first. That decision didn't work out. They got back together in 1775. It was during that time this little battle happened. It's called Lexington and Concord. It's in your home state of Massachusetts.
Shout out, Mass.
And then by 1776, there was a Declaration of Independence, and it was signed, sealed, delivered. By 1777, we finally have some kind of laws put into place. We're at war. The war ends in 1783. And those Articles of Confederation, they stayed in place. But from 1783, war ended, Revolutionary War we're talking about, to 1789,
Okay.
6 years, there was no president of the United States.
Shout out to mom and dad being gone for the weekend.
Yeah, there was no president.
Get lit. And the country was fine. I think we should go back.
Or was the country not fine?
I don't know.
Wait, the country was fine enough in 1783 when the war ended. But by about 1787, they're like, hey, y'all, this really ain't working. Like, we're not really getting along, and we need to come together. You know what's really cool about not getting along? So we won that war, the Revolutionary War. Goes down in history. We win it, obviously with the help of the French and then some other countries. Did you know, like, our own soldiers were fighting each other? They didn't know each other. They didn't like each other. Some of the leadership of the generals wasn't even leading them into battle, is leading them into becoming teams and liking each other and getting along.
Sounds like shopping at Walmart.
Like,
good one.
It's like shopping at Walmart with 5 kids. Because you got
on Black Friday.
Because you got it on Black Friday. Because you got to manage your kids, right? Then you got to manage all the people. Then you got to get out of there safely.
Right.
Yes. Yeah, like that's just crazy to think. Like, what type of leadership did that take? It wasn't like all these soldiers who weren't soldiers. They were farmers and merchants came together. Farmers, merchants, and slaves came together and were like, kumbaya, hell yeah, let's go take down England. They're like, hey, MFer, I know we're on the same side, but I hate you. And they were fighting each other.
Wow.
So yeah, so you had to keep your people from fighting each other. Then you had to go out. My point being, it wasn't easy. It wasn't all roses. It wasn't like, you were successful because it was a good market. No, they were successful because they were committed. They were successful because they showed up every single day and put on their uniform and got to work. They were successful because they didn't give up. That's why they were successful. These are things that we can learn from our forefathers. So again, war ends in 83. We go without a president all the way until 89. We're running off of the Articles of Confederation all the way up until roughly 88, 89. But it was in 1787 that they said, hey, this great country that we basically started discussing back in 1774, 13 years ago, is great, but it's not great enough. It's perfect, but it needs to be more perfect in order to form a more perfect union. Hey, let's get back together. Let's do it again in the city of brotherly love, Philadelphia, and let's talk about it. But they couldn't let the people know. They did not let the people know. People knew they were meeting, but they didn't know what they were talking about. They thought they were talking about how to amend or ratify certain aspects of the Articles of Confederation. What they ended up doing is writing the U.S. Constitution. This holy grail that people on the left and people on the right love to throw in each other's face. Well, the Constitution allows me to do this, and well, whatever the Constitution says, and that's not what our forefathers meant. What's really cool is that document, which, by the way, is a living document. It was written to be a living document. That's why we have amendments to our Constitution. But it didn't come until well after 14 years. 14 years from when we declared our independence are we finally getting together and we write the U.S. Constitution, we the people of the United States. It gets certified in 88, and we have our first official president in 1789, 15 years after we declared our independence from England. It took 15 years to get there.
Sounds like the Big Dig in Boston.
And then, I've actually seen the Big Dig.
I know it took a long time.
Yeah. And it's still just a big pile of dirt.
Piece of shit.
But anyhow. But then it's like, okay, you heard of the Bill of Rights?
I guess.
Right?
I mean,
The First Amendment, I got the right to do this.
Okay,
the
yeah.
Second Amendment, right? Just
Yeah.
amendments, that's the Bill of Rights. The
Okay.
first 10
Okay.
amendments
Yeah.
are known as the Bill of Rights.
Okay.
Okay, the right to fair speech, the right to bear arms, right?
Mm-hmm.
First, Second Amendments, cool. That doesn't even get added / ratified until 1791. Literally 3 years after the Constitution Convention met, 2 years after it was certified, 3 years before after it was certified, and 2 years after it went into effect. That's when the Bill of Rights came into play.
Oh, okay.
Again, look at that from the lens of being a business owner. You wrote this amazing document, but 2 years later, you're like, I got to make it more amazing. We left some stuff out. I can't believe we didn't think about that. So many times in business, we get what's called paralysis by analysis. You sit and you stare, and you're like, I gotta make sure this happens. I gotta make sure that happens. No, you don't. You have to put something together that makes sense based on your research. Go out and execute, and then circle back 3 months or 3 years later and continuously work on it. Make sure your life and your business is a living, breathing
Document.
organism
Oh, yeah.
or document.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
Yes. There is no cut and dry. There is no right and wrong.
It's a Google
Right?
Doc.
It's more perfect is what we're chasing. Every day we are chasing more perfect. And then just a couple other fun facts I'd like to share, and then we can move on from this episode, because there's some really cool shit that happens just a couple years later after the Bill of Rights, right? So the Constitution goes into effect in 89. That's also the same year that George Washington becomes president. George Washington was the president for 8 years, 2 terms.
Okay.
And then you know what he did? First time ever in documented history.
He told a lie.
Nope.
That's honest statement.
Nope. Honest Abe. George Washington has a little fairy tale about him not telling a lie, or an apple tree or something
Yeah,
like that
that's
too.
Edward Newton.
I have no idea.
Physics.
Okay. So no, what Washington did that's amazing, and what really makes our country amazing, and one of the first.
If you're a licensed originator who's closing loans, but you're not consistent, this is for you. If you're brand new or just looking for motivation, trust me, this is not for you. Most LOs don't need more information. They need structure. They need proven processes and somebody to hold them accountable. T-Lob's Originator Coaching gives you weekly live coaching, scripts top producers actually use, and step-by-step business systems you can implement immediately. Not someday, we're talking day one. You're not watching videos alone. You're executing in real time with other originators who take this seriously. Right now, you can try it free for 2 weeks. That's 2 full weeks for free. You'll sit in on live coaching calls. You'll get access to the frameworks and see exactly how top producers run their business. If it creates clarity, if it creates momentum, or even if it puts wins on the board, you keep going. If it doesn't, no worries, you can cancel. No pressure at all. Click the link, start the 2-week trial, and finally, build this like a business, not a side hustle.
He advocated, right? He left on his own will, on good terms, and handed over power to another human being. Prior, the only way that power was handed over was from father to son.
Okay.
Usually because dad died, he was king or queen, or takeover. Napoleon. Hey, let's go to war. Let's conquer them. Nope. George Washington's like, I'm in good health. I'm getting old. I want to go enjoy the rest of my life on my plantation, and I'm going to allow the people of the United States, not really the people, just the men who own land. We have some more amendments that we have to get through. Trying to stay purple here, John.
Right.
And that was really cool. Like, that was like first time ever. Think about that. Never since 1801, just 200 and, help me do some math, 22 years ago, did somebody say, yeah, I'm tired of being in power. I'm going to hand that power over to you. Right? We do it all the time in business. Hey, one CEO goes to resign. They name their successor. The successor comes in, and they hand over the power. You may be a dentist. You want to do that with your practice. Financial advisor with their practice, loan officer with their loan partner, right? We all can transfer power peacefully and still be involved. Washington was the first to do it, but it was in actual, and if I said 1801, that's actually incorrect. It was 1797. 1797 is when Washington handed over to Adams. But you see, Washington and Adams were friends. Washington and Adams were, for the most part, on the same team.
Yeah.
It was when Adams handed over power to Jefferson, because Adams was only president from 97 to 1801.
Okay.
When Adams handed over power to Jefferson, they weren't friends. They were foes.
Word.
Right? That was Massachusetts versus
The
Virginia.
versus everyone.
No, just versus.
Oh, okay.
You may have grew up that way in Mass, but no, but like that was 1801. What a great day in history. And then finally, like put it all in perspective for those playing along at home. It wasn't until 1865 that the 13th Amendment. So we had the first 10. They called them the Bill of Rights.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even know what 11s and 12 are. I should, but I don't. 13 ended slavery.
Mm-hmm.
But guess what, John?
What's that?
They got that wrong too. They missed a bunch of shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, the abolitionists, the people who voted to end and abolish slavery in 1865, utilizing the 13th Amendment, there was loopholes everywhere. And you know those people, they're going to find loopholes. So then they had to go and create the 14th Amendment. That happened in 1868, so a solid 3 years later.
Mm-hmm.
And then it wasn't until 1870 that the 15th Amendment and 13, 14, and 15 get tied together, because you first start with abolishing slavery. You then have to actually recognize what is and what isn't citizenship. So the 14th Amendment is what basically states if you're born in the U.S., you're a U.S. citizen. Period. End of story.
Mm-hmm.
What's crazy is we're one of a few countries that still operate that way. Like there's many countries that if I'm born in that country, I'm not a citizen.
Word.
We're here in the United States of America currently. If you're born here, you are here. 14th Amendment gives you that right. That right was instilled in 1868. It came after, because it wasn't covered in the 13th Amendment. People didn't think it through. People didn't know any better. They realized 3 years later, oh crap, we should have included that in the 13th Amendment.
Mm-hmm.
Just showing you so many times in life, whatever marketing idea that you rolled out was a good enough marketing plan, but there's probably a more perfect one out there. It's just going to take time for you to put your plan in play, see the results, study the results, and then go make adjustments as needed. 1870, that's where they had addressed the rights to vote, right? Because, I abolished slavery, so that means I'm recognizing you as being a human. And then it was like, but crap, I don't recognize you as being a citizen if you were born here. So 14th Amendment, let's recognize you being a citizen. And 15th is like, oh shit. And the 13th Amendment, I didn't give you the right to vote. Maybe I should have done that. Let's give you the right to vote, right? And then the 19th Amendment, you should know this one.
We made Hawaii a state.
Have you heard of suffrage?
Justin, I'm not kidding you. When I say I don't like history and don't pay attention and couldn't give a shit, I don't. This far back.
I wouldn't expect you to know what the 19th Amendment is.
Is it made up? Is it a joke? Was it like
it was not a joke. No. It ended women's suffrage. It allowed women to vote.
Is there a 20th Amendment?
Yeah.
For real?
Yes.
What
Look
is
it up.
it?
I don't know.
How are you going to stop it? How are you going to drop all this knowledge and then not know what the 20th one is? You're going to drop the 10 commandments and die at the end. I don't know what 20 is. I just gave you 19.
Because this episode's already growing long, John. What I wanted to do is share my excitement and my love of history with the audience. It correlated with a vacation that I just took my family on.
I know.
And while I was on that vacation, I was relearning American history.
Yep. You had this epiphany.
I had this epiphany.
This
that
isn't an article.
So many things that we can learn from our forefathers that isn't in the history books because it's the lessons within the lessons.
It's the wrinkles under the this isn't an article you're going to write. This sounds like a book.
No. I'm going to write an article. I'm going to hopefully get it published in Housing Wire.
15-page spread.
And then depending on how the article goes and the thoughts and the ideas, I would love to make a presentation out of it. And then I can travel the country next year and I can make this one of my featured presentations. You should, as long as I can do a better job of tying in the history lesson with the business lesson, the history lesson with the personal finance lesson, the history lesson with the life lesson. If I were to summarize it, I'm like, y'all, figure out what you want to do, put together a plan, work at it daily, never give up, and be willing to make changes and corrections when they are demanded. And it's not always going to be rosy. It's not always going to be clean. Not everyone's going to get along, and you're not always going to get your way. And not every decision you make is going to be the best decision or even the right decision. But if you can stick with it with a group of people who are sharing in your common ideals, it's amazing the magic that can happen. But you got to give it time. That would be how I'd summarize today's episode.
Word.
So there you have it. Happy birthday, America. 250. Here's the next 250. Reminder, this episode was originally recorded several years ago. This was repurposed. So anything that John Coleman, aka JC, and I were talking about, there's a good chance that it is a little bit outdated. Except I still want you to go to my website, tloponline.com, and I still want you to check out all of the coaching that we provide and offer to our industry. In fact, if you want a free 14-day trial, you can get your free 14-day trial to our coaching community just by going to our website, clicking on coaching, and filling out your information. Speaking of being at the website, we have our major event happening this year. This is 2026. This is September of 2026. It's the coolest, most like adventurous sales conference you could ever go on. We call it Caribbean Takeover. We're hopping on a cruise ship. We're heading to the Bahamas, September 14th through 18th, and you're invited. This is super affordable. It's very selective. We only have room for about 150 mortgage professionals, and right now there's about 10 cabins left. All the information you may need is on tloponline.com. Just go to the Unite tab and get yourself signed up and reserved. Finally, I'd love to hear from you. Comment below if you're on YouTube. If you're on Spotify or Apple, feel free to come hang out with us on YouTube so we can see your comments as well. Or you can comment below and we'll do our best to try to read the comments that are on the listening devices known as Spotify and Apple. Listen, y'all, I'm out of here. I'm Dustin Owen. You just tuned in to the Loan Officer Podcast. That's all the time we have for you today. But I do look forward to catching you on the next episode. Peace.